The character roster of the Arrowverse is stacked with heroes and villains of all kinds, and the Arrowverse is always introducing new characters that get DC comic fans' hearts racing. Yet that doesn't mean that just any character is allowed to appear on Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, and Batwoman. There are characters that DC and Warner Brothers prefer to keep out of the Arrowverse. The rules behind which characters are allowed can be inconsistent. Right now though, the following 9 characters won't be showing up in the Arrowverse anytime soon. For Arrowverse fans, Batman may be the holy grail of potential characters. For years, it seemed like the Arrowverse wasn't even allowed to mention the Dark Knight. Then, after a few sly references, Gotham finally became an official part of the Arrowverse during the last season's crossover Elseworlds. We got to see the Bat Signal and Wayne Tower and Arkham Asylum, and we even got a Caped Crusader in the form of Batwoman. Now, Batwoman is joining the Arrowverse in her own standalone show, and judging from the trailer, we'll be getting even more nods to Batman. Batwoman gets to use everything from the Batcave, to Batman's gadgets, to a modified version of his suit. That might make it seem like the introduction of Batman is right around the corner. Unfortunately, that's where DC draws the line. In Elseworlds, it was made clear that Batman vanished from Gotham City 3 years before in 2015. Now the Batwoman trailer made it clear that
the Bat's not coming back.
Why not include this incredibly popular character in the Arrowverse? After all, for 5 seasons, the prequel series Gotham centered on the evolution of Bruce Wayne into Batman, and DC Universe's Titans featured the character in its 2nd season. Yet, while the Arrowverse has pried open the doors to Gotham City, its most famous resident is still off limits. Caroline Dries, who's the showrunner for the new Batwoman series, said, "That's the one where they cut you off." Robert Pattinson was recently announced as the latest big screen version of the character in the upcoming movie, The Batman. And right now, it seems like the DCEU wants to limit the TV and movie iterations of the characters to that one. Still, Supergirl did eventually introduce Superman, so maybe the powers that be will eventually see the light on Batman too. Dries, for one, is staying hopeful, claiming slowly but surely we'll just keep picking away at it. Another character we likely won't be seeing anytime soon is Batman's arch nemesis, the Joker. There's no denying that when it comes to supervillains, the Joker looms large. And there were rumors that the character could appear in the Elseworlds crossover. However, while the Joker probably exists somewhere in the Arrowverse, it looks like he won't make an appearance. While a version of the Clown Prince of Crime appeared on Gotham, the show wasn't allowed to be direct about the character's identity.
So what do I call you?
And the Arrowverse has already included several Joker-like characters, including the Flash's trickster played by Mark Hamill, the man who famously voiced the Joker in animated form. Plus, the main villain of the first season of Batwoman, Alice, appears to have Joker-like tendencies. Between all that, and the character getting his own solo movie this fall, the Arrowverse doesn't appear to be gearing up for the Joker. For now, it seems the character will remain solely on the big screen. Speaking of the Joker, another character we won't be seeing in the Arrowverse is his main squeeze, Harley Quinn. The saddest part about the absence of this character is that she was teased in Arrow's 2nd season. During an episode called Suicide Squad, the character was heard off screen. There was even a deleted scene where she was shown from behind in an Argus jumpsuit. Clearly, Arrow was building to something awesome for the character. In fact, according to Willa Holland, who played Thea Queen, the series had big plans for Harley. But then DC executives decided to pull the plug on her inclusion in the Arrowverse. So whatever those big plans might be, according to Holland, it will never happen. The reasons Harley Quinn won't be allowed back in the Arrowverse comes back to DC's insistence on keeping their TV and movie worlds separate. A couple years after Harley cameoed on Arrow, Margot Robbie played the character in 2016's Suicide Squad. And although the movie itself didn't exactly draw rave reviews, Robbie's go for broke performance was wildly hailed. Now DC wants Robbie to continue playing Harley on the big screen for the foreseeable future. Meanwhile, the character won't be returning to the Arrowverse. Another character who got nixed from the Arrowverse because DC decided the character was better off on the big screen is Deadshot. Starting in Arrow's first season, Deadshot made several appearances. While he started out as a villain, he was eventually given a touching redemption story after joining Argus's Task Force X. Though the character's story didn't seem finished, he met his demise during a mission. Once again, DC pulled the plug on the character in the Arrowverse because of its plans to bring Suicide Squad to the big screen. Will Smith portrayed the character in the movie, and the Arrowverse Arrowverse version got relegated to a footnote. In fact, that's what happened with all of the characters featured in Arrow's Task Force X plot. As Arrow's Willa Holland explained, once DC decided that they were going to be doing their own movie of it, we had to axe all of the characters, which was a little annoying. It was annoying for fans too. The Task Force X plotline was shaping up to be an exciting addition to Arrow, until it was abruptly dismantled for reasons that didn't make a lot of sense in the show's ongoing narrative. Arrow even ended the life of Argus leader Amanda Waller to really put a nail in the story's coffin. This all may have been mandated by higher-ups at DC, but for Arrow fans, the whole thing was a head-scratcher. Longtime fans know characters are often resurrected in the Arrowverse. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we'll be seeing Deadshot again in any of the CW's DC TV shows. Ever since he initially appeared in the third season of Arrow, Ray Palmer, aka the Atom, has become a key member of the Legends of Tomorrow. Yet it almost didn't happen because producers' first choice to bring to the show was Ted Kord, and his superhero alter ego, Blue Beetle. DC wouldn't allow Blue Beetle to come to the Arrowverse though because there were plans to bring him to the big screen instead. About a year after that decision, it was reported that the Arrowverse's mastermind Greg Berlanti would be directing the Blue Beetle movie. The film was going to be a buddy comedy with Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. It's been 4 years since though, and no movies come to fruition. Most recently it's been announced that DC is making a Blue Beetle movie, but it'll feature the Jaime Reyes version of the character. Does that mean the Ted Kord version of the character is back on the table for the Arrowverse? It seems like at this point that ship has sailed. One long-standing Arrowverse fan theory is that Oliver Queen's friend and confidant John Diggle is actually the Green Lantern John Stewart. The theory is so well known that it was actually teased in Elseworlds. When the Flash from Earth 90 appears, he looks at Diggle and observes that he's not wearing his ring. It's a quick reference to the Green Lantern ring Diggle must have on this Flash's Earth. In the Earth of the Arrowverse though, Diggle goes by the codename Spartan, and it looks like things are gonna stay that way. Over the years, people connected to the Arrowverse have reportedly claimed that Green Lantern is off limits. Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow executive producer Mark Guggenheim has said that the reason Green Lantern won't appear is that he's spoken for. DC has been developing a Green Lantern Corps movie since 2015. As of mid-2018, Jeff Johns was said to be penning the script that was supposedly centered on Hal Jordan mentoring a rookie John Stewart. As of now, the movie's still in the works. Unless that changes, Green Lantern won't make his way to the Arrowverse. While Guggenheim seems at peace with Green Lantern never coming to the Arrowverse, there is a character that he would like to use, the Question. In an interview, Guggenheim admitted that he's proposed using the character on Arrow repeatedly. He said he believed the Faceless Sleuth would be a great fit for the tone of Arrow. Unfortunately, DC won't permit producers to bring the Question to the Arrowverse. According to Guggenheim, they have other plans for the character, although he wasn't sure what those plans actually were. It seems reasonable to assume that DC's refusal to let the Question appear in the Arrowverse means that the character will head to the big screen. However, no plans have been announced yet. The Question isn't one of the franchise's best-known characters, so we may not get his own movie. It's possible he could pop up at some point in the DCEU though, even if it's just to help out a more popular DC character. In the third season of Legends of Tomorrow, the team had to return Helen of Troy to her proper time. However, that didn't mean they returned her to the proper place. Instead, they took her to the Mascara, a name that should ring a bell with any Wonder Woman fan. The Mascara is, of course, the island where Wonder Woman was born that's populated entirely by Amazonian warrior women. That Legends mention may be the closest fans ever get to Wonder Woman in the Arrowverse though. Once again, the DCEU's Wonder Woman movies mean the character is off limits to the Arrowverse. Arrow and Legends executive producer Guggenheim confirmed that Wonder Woman wasn't available to the shows. And it's not just Wonder Woman, but really any member of the Justice League. As Guggenheim explained, in the Arrowverse, we have our own Justice League. The Arrowverse's annual crossover events definitely support the notion that the different shows' heroes make up their own league, and fans have anticipated hearing the moniker applied to the extended team. Legends teased the Justice Society when Amaya originally joined the team in season 2, but that name hasn't been suggested either. Could it be that even the Justice League name is off limits to the Arrowverse? The DCEU has released a Justice League movie. Despite disappointing critical and fan reaction, perhaps DC doesn't want the Arrowverse stepping on the movie side's toes. Still, the Arrowverse's team-ups across the shows have been a lot more successful than those of the DCEU. It's too bad that the Arrowverse team of heroes can't give themselves a name to make things official. Last but certainly not least is a character that played a major role in what is arguably Arrow's best season, Deathstroke. First introduced in season 1, Slade Wilson really made an impression when he went from Oliver Queen's mentor to his antagonist in season 2. Deathstroke's arc was fascinating, and he's still regarded as one of the Arrowverse's best villains. In fact, he was so popular that actor Manu Bennett reprised his role as the character in subsequent seasons. Yet behind the scenes, Deathstroke's Arrowverse fate has been confusing and inconsistent. In particular, Deathstroke, played by Joe Manganiello, appeared in the end credits scene in the Justice League movie, and that cut off any hope of him appearing in the Arrowverse again, at least for now. Yet it's hard to say exactly what plans are in store for Manganiello's version of Slade Wilson. It's already been a couple of years since Justice League and nothing concrete has been announced. Plus, the DCEU has been in a restructuring phase, so it's hard to say if this character is still relevant to the franchise anymore or not. Could that leave the door open for Manu Bennett's return to Arrow's 8th and final season? This isn't the first time that DC has prevented the Arrowverse from using Deathstroke. However, those other times, it's reversed the decision, at least for a time. Executive producer Guggenheim indicated that Arrowverse tries to take advantage of the times when DC has made Slade Wilson available to them. He explained, "There's these intervals, and we try to take advantage of our opportunities when we have them. And then there's this nugget. Deathstroke appeared in the second season of DC Universe's Titans. If Titans gets to introduce a new Deathstroke, shouldn't the Arrowverse get to revisit its beloved version of the character? Fingers crossed it'll happen before Arrow comes to an end." Which of these characters do you hope DC will decide to allow the Arrowverse to use? Hit us up in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to The Binger for more super heroic content. Thanks for watching.